Mark Morrison on 1FM 91.3. Return of the Mac. Not exactly the Mac, but it's Clara.
Yay!
Welcome back.
Hi, good
Clara
to be back.
ST Life assistant editor. Okay, at ST Life. And she's been traveling, right? And these two articles that I read, that makes me want to go
Unreal.
to, first and foremost, Kenya.
Yeah.
And also this other place called Thessaloniki. Did I get it right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, in Greece. It's a lesser known cousin of the Mykonos, the Corfu, Santorini and all that, right? I've never been to Greece, by the way. But after I read your article, I was intrigued.
Why these destinations of all the places on the planet?
So Kenya is pretty obvious, right? Like if you love animals and safari, then you want to see them in the wild. But when I started thinking about Greece, I Googled, Greece itineraries, and Santorini and Mykonos and Corfu, all these places, they kept coming up. But I was going in off-season, which was March, and I realized the connections to these hotspots were firstly not as frequent. And secondly, I think I'm intrigued by places that are slightly off the tourist trail.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the people there are so much more excited to meet you, and there's so much more energy, and in a way they're almost more welcoming because they're not jaded by tourists, and yet there are amazing things to see.
Yeah.
So a bit about Thessaloniki. It's known as Greece's second city, but there's really nothing second best about it. It has a really youthful energy because Greece's largest university is there, so there are a lot of students and it's very young and vibey, and even on Sunday night and Monday night there are a lot of people out partying and in the bars.
They go there to study or they go there to party?
They go there to party and then study.
It's a little bit of both. It's like when we were young, right?
Oh yes, true.
And it's also known as a foodie city. So you get just lots of great Greek cuisine, and different from the Greek cuisine that we know in Singapore. And also, because it's not a tourist hotspot, it's quite affordable.
So not like the food we get here.
A little bit different, I think. So, okay, take cheese, for example.
Yeah.
You go to Europe and then you would encounter things like mozzarella or brie or camembert. But I was introduced there to a type of cheese known as, I think it's pronounced as Gais, Gais. And they use similar techniques to mozzarella when making it. And then they have their own little Greek touch. So, for instance, I had cheese with mint. And it doesn't sound like it would go together, but it does. Like the mint is really refreshing, and it's a counterpoint to the richness of the cheese.
Right.
And then you also learn about the culture there and how they make different things. Like fermentation is huge in Greece. And again, I didn't really know that. So they make what my tour guide called a Greek kimchi. And they use different ingredients all from nature, and then they ferment it. And then they also have a winter kimchi and a summer kimchi. I mean, they don't call it kimchi, but it's a winter and a summer ferment. So, all these different flavors, which again is different from the Greek food we get here. Because what do we know about Greek food here? It's like feta cheese salad.
Yeah.
And you're about right there.
You went on a food tour.
Yes.
Is that recommended for people going to Greece or Thessaloniki?
I feel like yes, because you can always wander around and just sample things on your own, and the markets are great. But having a guide kind of unpacks the food in relation to the history and culture of a place.
Okay.
So you learn. So for example, I had this pastrami. And, cured meat is always delicious, right?
Yeah.
But he also told me about how the spices on the pastrami come from the myriad of culture that shaped Greece and shaped Thessaloniki. So you have a green pepper, which is from the Chinese empires, and then you have a cumin and peppercorns, which references the Ottomans and the Romans. And it all comes together on this plate, and then you have it with this amazing red wine, because wine again it's huge in Greece. I think the explanation that goes into what you're eating makes it really different and memorable.
The storytelling.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go on Facebook Live right now. Find out why Thessaloniki is called Thessaloniki.
Mornings are now.
Okay, so here's the question. Why is Thessaloniki called Thessaloniki?
Well, if you think that it sounds like, a very beautiful and poetic name, that's actually because it was the name of the wife of someone who conquered the area. And so it's like, your husband could give you flowers, or he could name a city after you that remains.
Honey, stop listening to this.
Yeah, there was a military general named Cassadon, I think.
Yes.
So it's quite romantic, I think.
It
right?
is.
And the Thessaloniki is small enough, it's not a huge city, right?
It's not huge. In the city center, at least, it's very walkable, and that's partly why I picked it, because I was there alone. So I didn't want to rent a car and deal with all the transport stuff. So you can book an Airbnb right by the waterfront, which is beautiful, and then just walk around the city.
A good question.
Yes, I saw your hand. You raised your hand. Yes.
I saw a hand back there.
Yes. How about the Greek men?
See, I couldn't ask that question.
Yeah, no. I had to know because, Clara was traveling alone. And I had to know, how goes the Greek?
I mean, it's a student town, so the men I met were kind of too young.
Honey, they say age is just a number.
Just from a man's point of view, a man is never too young. Never too young. But you talked about food. And Greece was not the only place you went to. Mm-hmm. You went to Kenya in Africa. Mm-hmm. And I've always, because I went to Africa when I was really, really small, and I don't remember the food. What's the food in Africa like?
In Kenya, we were fortunate, to stay at resorts where there was great food, and it's a lot of meat.
Okay.
So you get, it's a lot of barbecue. So you get like sausages, and then your grilled lamb and all this. But
the exotic stuff, you tried any?
I did not, but to be fair, I didn't eat along the street.
Okay. Yeah, because that would be a bit dicey, I would imagine.
I think you probably could if you grew up there, but it's not suited to our systems.
Our systems, yeah.
Another interesting part of Kenya that people don't always think of when you think of the country is that I also went to the coast. So I went to Lamu, which is a coastal town, and the seafood there is amazing.
Oh,
really?
And you would think, you get seafood like, I don't know.
So
you just don't think of seafood when you think of Kenya.
Yeah, you don't. Correct. What is it? Grilled or what?
So they have it grilled. They have ceviches. They have salads.
Oh, very nice.
I had a grilled octopus salad which was really good. But the thing that sticks in my memory is I had crab. So they call it ginger butter crab. They deshell the crab for you.
No!
And they cook it and they serve it just in this bowl. It's a really generous portion, and I think I paid maybe like 20 to 30 Singapore dollars, and I had crab and something like a chapati because they have like Indian and Swahili influence. It was so good. I still think about that.
I want to go live in Kenya. They deshell the crab.
Okay, so why should we step out of our comfort zone, when it comes to traveling in more unusual destinations? Singaporeans are just generally quite cautious, right? They go to the usual hotspots, but what would make somebody go somewhere else?
So I think when Singaporeans think about travel, they always want somewhere that is good value, safe, have a great time, have great food. Thessaloniki really had all that. And it's not just that city. I think there are many places in the world where if you do a bit of research, you can find places that have really good value because they're slightly off the tourist circuit. They are safe because, when there's fewer tourists, you don't get all these tourist touts. And I'll give you an example. In Thessaloniki, along the waterfront, I saw people just dining al fresco and they'll just leave their phone on the table. And in like Barcelona or Paris, like no way you can do that. It would just be gone.
Yeah.
And to keep yourself safe, you kind of observe the behavior of the locals, and that told me, I guess this place is pretty chill. And so, with all those things put together, I guess I hope these stories will inspire people to, when they think about their next destination, to just consider somewhere a little bit different, and I think you'll have a great time.
I think also people need to realize that, yes, that every city you go to, I can pick a bad thing about it. But if you go to the cities and you stick to the good side of the city, you're all right. I did South America for months on end with my wife, and it's just about knowing where to go.
I love that because people always think South America is like really dicey, but
it's not
you just got to do some research and trust your gut and listen to local advice.
Yeah.
Okay, what about families?
Again with the blooming hand.
Yes. What about, families with kids? They're always like, it's not safe, this and that. How would you work around it? Go with a tour operator, how?
When I went to Kenya, I was on a tour with Trafalgar. I am not a package tour kind of person. I think this was like one of maybe my first or less. I've done it less than 5 times in my life. But I think Africa is one of those places because logistically it's a little bit more challenging. The transport connections are not as easy to navigate for foreigners. So I think if you go with a family and you have a tour where everything's lined up for you, you have a guide every day, they handle your luggage, you get into the vehicle.
Yeah, exactly.
It is very convenient. I would say that it's probably suited to older kids where they can appreciate the stories of Africa and the savannah and the animals. And a lot of kids love wildlife, right? And I think it's a great way to introduce them to nature and really get them immersed into how amazing this world is out there.
It's
Yeah.
nothing like coming within 6 feet of a massive elephant.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you went to a safari in Kenya,
I
right?
did,
Tell us
yes.
about that experience.
Wow, it's really amazing. So I grew up as a nature lover as well. I grew up going to the zoo, and I always knew that when I became an adult, I would want to see these things out in the wild. And honestly, the experience is so different when you see animals with this expanse of space and the freedom to behave as they do as animals. It's an incredibly privileged thing to say that, and I know it's prohibitively expensive for some people, but I think if you can, to see animals in the wild, not necessarily in Africa, but anywhere you can see them in their natural environment, it's really something special.
Yeah, it is. I was very moved when I saw a herd of elephants, right, just cross our path.
Yes.
When we went to the safari in South Africa, it was on my birthday too. And I was like almost in tears.
Think about
Yes,
that. On your
yeah.
birthday, you were greeted by elephants.
Yeah, a herd. And then the baby elephants,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
trailing behind. That's an experience everyone should have. Yeah, bucket list for sure.
Bucket list for sure.
You've traveled to both, like remote and lesser known places as well as the ones that we are familiar with. In your view, what makes a travel experience truly meaningful, especially with these lesser known destinations?
I think often people travel for the place, but then sometimes it's the interactions with people there that are really fun and memorable and stay in your mind. So in Thessaloniki, for example, I arrived in the morning and then I was just walking around because I couldn't check into my Airbnb yet. So I walked into a coffee shop that also happened to be a bar, and it was 12 in the afternoon, and I said, "Can I order cocktails?" And the staff were like, "Yeah, we love you. You are our kind of guest," because they're all like students, right? They're 20s. And so they made me a cocktail, and then this server, she sat down next to me and she was like, "Okay, I'm going to drink with you." And then she just poured herself like a gin and tonic or whatever, and we drank together, and then she gave me some recommendations for where else to drink at, where else to eat at. And then we ended up going for dinner that same night. And it's like, that's so cool and random. And I feel like it's because it's kind of a low-key city that people have time to entertain you.
It's interesting, because I had that very same experience, believe it or not, in Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
Really?
In a bar in Tokyo. Ended up,
Despite the language barrier?
ended up in the guy's house with his mom cooking us dinner.
That is so special.
What did you put in his...
Absolutely nothing.
Drink?
But if you go to the right places and you act the right way, most people are very accepting of a foreigner.
because you know why? His mother had never seen Ang Mo before. So let me bring this specimen back home to my mother.
Let me bring this thing home.
This thing, okay. I think we've got some photos, right?
Yes, you must talk us through these
that
photos.
Clara shared with us for her trips. So what is this photo that we're looking
Wait,
at?
we need to tilt it such that Clara can actually see what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's not easy. Okay, we're going to spin it around so that Clara can see the photos that we're putting up.
Oh.
Where was this? I also cannot see.
So this is the Acropolis, and this is actually in Athens, where most people will enter the country.
Yeah.
This is a part that has been refurbished, but it gives you an idea of how Greek theatre was back in the old days where it was performed. So, if you've studied a little bit of this theatre in school, like Oedipus Rex, that classic story, and you imagine it being performed, not here specifically, but in a theatre like this, this is what you get to see in Athens.
Okay. So I have to go see this.
So
when I
you
go to
picture
Greece.
a place like that, right? And think of it in the day. They performed there. There was no sound system.
Oh, yeah. So they got to project
That
their
is
voice.
the majesty of these places. There was no sound system.
Yeah, so projection and then the acoustics,
The
just
acoustics.
from the way the architecture was.
Unreal.
Right?
Unreal.
Okay, we're coming up on air. Kim Lyle, and you came on 1FM 91.3. It is the morning drive with FD and Carrie. And in the studio today, Clara Lock with us from the Straits Times, talking about these unusual destinations when it comes to traveling. So you went to Kenya in Africa and also to Thessaloniki in Greece, right? So we're talking about the food in Greece.
So
in
here's the
Thessaloniki.
thing. My wife is a traveler to odd places. Me, you give me a holiday, I go to the Maldives, I take a book, I sit on the beach, I read. No?
See, not even Bali,
I
no,
happy,
Maldives.
I happy with the. But no, my wife will go to Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Chile,
Yeah.
Turkey, Morocco, all these places that are not off the beaten track but different, right? Now, you visited this city in Greece. It is a city of gastronomy, a UNESCO,
UNESCO.
city of gastronomy. What does that mean?
It means there's amazing food paired with amazing culture. So
Right.
we spoke a little bit about going on a food tour and how to introduce you to the culture. I think what makes it a UNESCO city of gastronomy is that you have all these stories that are paired with this amazing food. Okay, to be honest, you go to Greece, you go to like many parts of Europe, the food is always great.
Yeah.
Right, but I feel like in this case especially, it's because this was at the crossroads of many different cultures like the Ottomans, the Byzantines, the Romans, and that influenced the food and the different layers of food or different layers of seasoning or culture or techniques that went into producing the food that they have today. I think that's what makes it really quite special.
So would you say it's a city worth going to just for its food?
I mean, go for the food and then stay for the sides and everything else, right?
Yeah.
For the Greeks. Okay, so most
So
unusual
woman, are you?
most unusual place that you've been. Like, off the beaten track.
Wow.
Okay, I'll give you a
No,
second. What about you, Clara?
Wow, off the beaten track.
Yeah.
I forget if we've spoken about China before on air, but I spent a month in China when I graduated.
Yes.
And I went to lots of these small towns. That was... So China itself is, of course, it's known, but to go to the little corners of it where there's like Tibetan influence and all this.
Yes. That's
Okay,
very
tell you what,
special.
we need to go for news, but we keep this conversation going on Facebook for a while more.
Okay. Let's go.
The Morning Drive.
Okay, so
Yes.
those of you with us on Facebook, you're getting extra today. So,
What? Unusual.
unusual place I've been to, if I had to pick one, a favela in Brazil.
Okay. What's a favela again?
It is where the less privileged live in Brazil. Slums.
Okay.
way
And
of
you were
saying
there
slums.
because...
Because I wanted to see it.
Okay.
And it is an economy unto itself. It is absolutely amazing. If you ever go to Brazil, but you have to get tours to go.
Exactly.
Because there are favelas that are safe and there are favelas you don't go to.
Yep.
You go to the safe ones, but you learn an entire economy within an economy.
Okay. For me, I think I will top this one. It's Kyrgyzstan.
Wow.
Yeah. This one is
That's really good.
That's rough, man. It's one of those hardship trips.
No way.
It's beautiful though, right?
It is stunning, but it's so tough because it's underdeveloped. It's outside of Bishkek, which is the capital.
Yeah.
It is rough, but that's where you really soak in the natural beauty of the land.
Yeah.
And the food situation. Let's just say it's not UNESCO
Yeah.
approved.
No, it's like I had a friend who went to Cuba
Yeah.
and said, please go to Cuba, go to Havana,
Yeah.
but don't drive 2 hours outside
Yeah.
because it just changes.
Yeah.
It is not what you want. It's not at all what you want.
Yeah, so there you go. Okay, if you're thinking of planning, a trip, talk to us. That's like
We'll give you some out of this world
Out of this
recommendation.
world.
Yeah, for sure.
exactly. We're gonna wrap up with
We're gonna
Clara.
wrap up, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the 2 articles, if you're interested, on Kenya and Thessaloniki are out on the Straits Times.
Yep.
Thank you, Clara from the Straits Times.
Manpower Minister and Anchor Minister Tan